Now, Mark, we have a wrestler, rather interesting, a wrestler from England versus a wrestler from India. But the wrestler from England is really or originated in Russia, in Georgia, part of this former Soviet Union, and certainly has been a formidable opponent for those that he's wrestled here. He's only been in England for 4 years, but is eligible to represent England in competition. As you know, and many of our listeners will be aware that the Russians, or those that used to be in the Soviet system, are extremely accomplished in wrestling and world dominant. So perhaps this wrestler brings it to this competition. His name is Daikon Miroslav, the English wrestler but of Russian origin, and he's wrestling against Narsingh Yadav from India. And Yadav is only 17, one of those young Indian wrestlers, so it'll be very interesting. Both were rather unknown on the international level, so this is perhaps a good introduction for both of them, and I'm sure both of them will wrestle next week in the Canada Cup. We have 45 seconds into the match, and they're getting through the feeling out system, and I think somebody's going to make some offensive moves very shortly here. And we have Narsingh Yadav attack on the leg, but a very strong defense there, Mark, by the English wrestler.
The English wrestler was very fortunate in the semis because he had a very strong opponent from Pakistan who he won through the coin toss, just similar to the match before this, and was very fortunate to win the flip and win the match, because I think all 3 rounds went into a flip.
Yeah. And the reason for the coin toss is we have a 0-0 tie. Nobody's scored. The officials say, well, let's get somebody with some kind of a secure hold and see what happens in the action. The unfortunate part is the person who gets the leg is almost always the person who wins the round. So it's almost worth just flipping the coin and say, go to your corners, boy. You win the toss. And we're approaching that point again. We have 15 seconds remaining in the first round between Miroslav and Yadav, an Indian and a British wrestler of Russian origin. And 5 seconds remaining, so it appears as though they're both content to leave it to the referee to flip a coin, and probably a 50-50 chance they're going to win this round.
Well, it's going to be interesting what England has to offer, because I think they've brought in 2 Russian coaches to coach the English team, and the coach said to us that he's got a 6-year plan.
And Red has won the toss here, so he's going to take the leg. So the Miroslav, England, takes the leg and scores a point immediately, and that's the end of the round, and Red wins. And I make no apologies for sounding as though I'm a little skeptical of that being a legitimate contest. Frankly, I find it somewhat bizarre. Nevertheless, it is what it is, and Red wins the first round on our coin toss. Let's hope in the second round, Mark, we get some wrestling action, not only for the sake of the wrestlers, because we'd like to see them determined on the mat, but for the sake of our viewers, because I'm sure they're starving for some good wrestling action, and based on the last 2 matches we've had.
Let's not forget about the commentators either.
Yeah, we'd like to see something. Give us something to maybe comment about in terms of wrestling technique. And so far, the technique has been very standoffish. But, I suppose when you get to this level, it'd be great to have a Commonwealth Championship to your credit. And they're thinking about their resumes, and they're a little worried about risking something. Sometimes the preliminary matches can be a little bit more entertaining. So Red has 1 round. He only needs to win another to win the match. Blue, Yadav from India, needs to win 2 rounds or pin his opponent in order to secure the win in the match. Referee has stopped the match and is going to warn the wrestlers about hand wrestling and pushing and shoving and grabbing fingers and so on. So he wants them to begin wrestling, as do we all. An excellent standing single leg attack by our blue wrestler, but an outstanding re-throw. I'd lost. What a great throw by the Russian or the English wrestler as a counter, and it's 3-0. Beautiful counter from that. Now the Indian had an outstanding leg attack, Mark, but was countered by Miroslav with a throw that I didn't see coming.
He just, I guess he was over pushing, and I guess that helps set up the throw for the English wrestler.
Well, whenever you push in, you lean into your opponent, you sure risk a lot, but Yadav did what we asked. We wanted some action. Outstanding leg position, and on the way down, the red wrestler initiated his counter throw and ended up gaining 3 points instead of losing 1. So that was really a 4-point turnaround. He's in control of the round and therefore of the match. And again, blue is in on the leg, very securely in on the leg, and is not getting anywhere. And red didn't run away from that. He just stood, countered, and good body position, and got himself free from the move quite well. Again, blue is in on the legs, trying to attract. He really needs to score now, and it's getting to be, he has 60 seconds left, because if he loses this round, he will lose the match. Again in on the leg, but no points yet. He's not in control, he's in behind, and he does have, finally, a well-deserved point mark. He's been working at that for the last minute and a half, hasn't he?
And Dykens, he's comfortable leading that right leg, I think is what he's getting. No, it's the left leg that he's getting it on, and the Indian wrestler kept at it, and finally he scored his point, and it's pretty important to shoot legs and be able to score at any time in the match, and obviously he needs to score 2 more points he's got to score 3 more points to win this match, because he needs to win this round instead of...
That's right. And an excellent takedown again, but only for 1 point. And that was close to being for more than 1 point, because he took him from his feet to his stomach, but on the way down, Miroslav turned enough to get to his stomach. And I think he's content, Mark, to realize he's wrestling this as a typical Russian would be, completely aware of the time remaining in the match. He's still winning by 1 point, and I think that the Indian wrestler isn't going to get anywhere near him anymore on this. He's got 8 seconds to go. Let's see how the Russian handles this.
He's probably willing to give up 1 more point, because he's still going to win the round because of the 3-point throw that he did earlier in the match.
Yeah, and we should explain, and red does win the match. In a tie with points, there is a rather complicated scoring system, but essentially if you score bunches of points at a time, you get more credit for that, and red was in a good position all around. He strategically knew exactly what was happening, and Miroslav from England of Russian origin wins the match and is the Commonwealth champion